Hello everyone, I have here my new friend BD-1 from the LEGO Star Wars line. I bought this for its retail price of $100 US and built the whole thing live over on my Twitch channel. This has 1,062 pieces and officially is 31 centimeters in height, about 12.5 inches. I believe that includes the antennas though. So here's a random minifigure for the sake of scale. It's large. It's quite a bit larger, in fact, than I was expecting, even though I looked at the size of it in advance, when the pictures first came out, the announcement first came out. Also comes with the stand and the little miniature BD-1. This is built body first, then leg frame, then leg cladding and armor and detail, and then head finally. It feels like a very logical build order of operations and everything. I never felt like there was anything awkward going along. And the level of detail I think is pretty good. And it's also very, very stable in spite of actually not being quite as overbuilt visually as I thought from the original pictures. So seeing this from different angles, it feels a little bit more natural. It is definitely thicker than the in-universe prop is, which I don't know if they even have a physical version other than just for temporary display, but I think it's actually fairly thin and lanky to good effect given how top heavy it is and how heavy it is just in general. There's a lot of weight, a lot of mass in this head, and it just feels natural. It does have a little bit of wobble to it, but I actually don't mind that. It almost makes it feel a little bit more alive for the sake that it does have that wobble. Now, as far as articulation is concerned, part of that wobble comes from the fact that you can turn the head from side to side like this, or you can tilt it from side to side. Unfortunately, you cannot tilt it as viewed from the top, or you cannot turn it rather, left to right as viewed from the top. There's an additional joint in the neck, which allows it to look way up. You can also look down a fair amount. That's a good range there. And this moves the weight a little bit forward, but there's never a worry about this falling. Unfortunately, the legs are a little bit limited by physics. So I was able earlier to find a pose where one of these legs, let me straighten this back up, where one of the legs was, right about there. Okay. I'm not super confident in that pose. Doesn't seem to, see, it's just, it wants to lean a little bit to this side over here. I wouldn't leave it like this long term. You are able to get it there, but it's taking advantage of the articulation in the heel right there. But as far as like an action pose, there's not a whole lot more that you can do with that. You can rotate the entire body, and that can help you with some of the poses in terms of holding the center of gravity in a reasonable position. But what's most useful articulation wise from the legs, honestly, is the splay. You can splay out. You can also go inward. Now, inward doesn't help that much, but you can do like this. So you can kind of combine them, and that makes it look a little bit more dynamic because the shoulders are rotated in particular. I think that's interesting. I think that's valuable. Even though it's not able to get as much of a movement look as I want to see, still it looks a lot more alive, looks a lot more believable this way. Let's see if I bring this down and then bring this up as well. See, subtle things like that give you some range, make it look like, oops, just knocked that off. That's my bad. That's not a design issue. I just should not have been grabbing it from there, but you can make it look like it has a little bit more movement. If I bring this out, bring this over more, bring this back. Yeah, just see, it really, here it looks like it's looking up to get instruction or something, or maybe it's looking up into the sky. Just combining these things together, just playing around with that gives you some range, and you do have a little bit of flex here, that you're not supposed to use technically, but you can to get a little bit more out of it. And I don't think that's going to be stressing the parts too much. So I think that even though this does have limitations, still enough that you can do here to have some fun with it and to make it not look like a boring statue. One other thing you do have access to, which I think I may have actually left part way out earlier on, I do apologize for that, is the stem tray. So this just slides out, and there are the stems. It's 3 of them. They're connected together. They're way too small. The main BD-1 itself is pretty dang close to proper scale, to 1-to-1 scale, but the stems are absolutely tiny. You also have access to moving these up and down, so you can get a little bit of change. Use them like dog ears to suggest emotion or suggest mental state a little bit. So that's also another useful, subtle thing. There's nothing like that on this side, though. This is all just closed. I haven't heard if there are any mistakes like there usually are on these UCS style plaques, but the miniature BD-1, we've already seen this mold once before from the Disney Plus series, but this is the proper BD-1 with the new exclusive markings on it. They might use this again in the future though, but it looks pretty good. If you have not seen this mold before, it has to have an extra thick section for the base for the anti-stud. It needs to be strong enough to be able to be placed onto another object and then removed repeatedly. Lego has its durability standards and everything. So that's why it might look a little bit too chunky, but I think for what it is and for how small it is, again, referring to a random minifigure for scale, yeah, it's pretty good. Here are the leftover pieces, all tiny little things as usual, a few useful things in there, but the sticker sheet had just one item on it, and that was for the plaque, of course. Getting back to price, again, it's $100 US. It is 100 euros, which is fair. It is 90 pounds UK, which also seems in the fair range, relatively speaking. I think it's actually a decently fair price for a Star Wars thing that's this big in 2022. The era when everything is ridiculously expensive. Now, this is just so much larger than I expected it to be. And it's solid and it's good and it's cute. It looks nice on display. Gosh, I wish it was able to turn the head side to side. That would help so much. But it seems like it won't be too difficult to modify that inside of the head, up in there. Not down at the base, but just up in there. I think it can be done. But yeah, this is a little bit more movability with the legs would be nice, but just the splaying itself is actually pretty good. And overall, I'm very satisfied with this. This is just like a little bit of bonus, including the tiny little BD-1 there. Just generally, I think the design team did an excellent job with this. And yes, it is expensive, but at least it's really, really good. And it's sizable, so overall, I'm just happy with this one. I would love to see it cheaper, of course, yes. Like with all things in 2022. But on balance, for the world we live in today, I think this is a good thing. So thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.